Hey everybody, Elaine Way from California State Leadership. Just my first, meeting with you, Andrew, and HF together for, while I'm on the interim board. So it's me, Angelo, and Paige were the new interim board members for Humanity First Movement. So happy to be here.
Want to give just a quick 2 cents about who you are and your backgrounds? You can start with Angelo.
Thank you very much. My name is Angelo Mendoza. I am a entrepreneur, former musician. I sit on the board with the Arizona Humanity Forward Arizona. I helped to craft the Arizona HR department during the campaign, and I'm happy to be serving on the board now. Thank you.
Paige.
Hey, I'm Paige. I live in New York. I'm in Brooklyn. Joined the Yanking last July. Have been volunteering in New York and stuff since then. I actually worked in the headquarters office, met Erica and Muhan and everyone as a ballot access fellow, so that was really fun. And yeah, now I'm on the board.
And Elaine?
Sorry, yeah. So again, worked in local government and state nonprofits with the city of Los Angeles. That's my background. Andrew knows me from the first and second LA rallies. Did Basic Income March in LA. Canvassed for him in Nevada, in Iowa, and also in California. So we're basically on the board, the Humanity First Movement, because we want to see the sort of the platform and the policies continue to grow as a movement. So it's pretty much been my continued efforts after the suspension to make sure that each of our yang gangs kind of grow on an international basis and international basis to kind of support all these policies.
Cool. All right. I think everyone at least briefly from. So we'll just dive into. Catherine wanted to speak. We're going to start out with sort of an update on what the states have been doing.
Hey, so I've included some documents in the agenda for you guys to take a look at, but basically a lot of the states, Massachusetts and Texas are working on ranked choice voting. California is getting ready to put Cal UBI forward again the next cycle. So they're doing an aggressive mapping of kind of where the state legislature stands on that. A number of the states are supporting candidates, and they are just kind of using the templates provided by Massachusetts to kind of interview and kind of discover with our incumbents and candidates, what their opinions are about these human-centered economy policies, just to start footprinting our legislative environments and find these more state and local level candidates who we can support and kind of create the ground for 2022 and 2024. And one of the big key focuses over the next 3 months is using this close 2020 election, and this will come up later in this conversation, but just to kind of everyone is starting to back plan about what activation level do they want to have by the time of the Basic Income March in September, and the actions that Massey's going to talk about, and the Testify for UBI that Angelo's going to talk about. Just these next 3 months are this critical opportunity because of the close election, where we have the most leverage over our representatives to kind of bring to fruition all of these ideas. So I'll stop there.
And so sort of build off that is a 3 to 6 month plan of the states. And that's what we sort of just covered right there. And the main goal is, like I think y'all know, is sort of this coalition really trying to get significant action for UBI. And I think part of it is we need to figure out what we can do with this COVID era to get things in the digital realm. And I know Angela wanted to talk more a bit about that.
Sorry, having internet troubles.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so in this era of COVID where everyone's kind of forced to stay home, one of the problems that we've had is that we have actually seen a lot of apathy start to set in with the Yang Gang, particularly with the online Yang Gang on Twitter and Facebook, where the general attitude is, well, I'll come back in 2024 if Andrew runs again, but they really don't feel like there's anything there for them to engage with, and they're sort of feeling lost. A lot of that has allowed for energies to disperse with things like the Dark Horse Duo and other sort of projects like that, where people are just latching onto whatever they can. So what the Yang Gang really needs right now is the challenge accepted Yang back. And we're just wondering, do you accept that challenge?
Is that question specifically for me, Angela?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah, the Yang Gang really needs you specifically.
yeah. So you know, I've tried to lead by example, where it's like, what am I trying to do right now? The Dark Horse Duo, you know, it's like I'm not for it, and just in that I don't think it's going to work, and I also think it's you know, like it also frankly like goes against commitments I've made, where I said, it's like, look, I'm not going to run in on a third party ticket, and I signed various things. Now, like, would I break that if it was like future of the free world? Like, yeah, but you know, am I going to do it be in an effort I don't think is going to work out so well, or it's like just going to end up being like a marginal effort? So to me, like, what's front and center for us is like, we can get members of Congress in the Yang Gang. You know, we've got races that we like. Donna Imam, who I was just texting with just now. Conrad's on this text too. So Beto, like, I leaned on Beto to have an event for her. Julian looks like he's going to talk to her and see if he wants to endorse her. And her opponent is like literally like, you know, infirm right now. It's like a 78-year-old dude who's going to like struggle to campaign and govern. You know, it's unfortunate. We have these aging legislators who like are homebound, and because it's COVID, it's like no one really knows what's going on. But like, you know, some of them are struggling at that level. So we could have our own national AOC type figure, homegrown out of the Yang Gang, that is a member of Congress in November, also puts pressure on other members of Congress to embrace our platform. So Angela, when you say it's like, what the challenge accepted, it's like, yeah, I think we need to get people focused on things that we can achieve. And right now, in my opinion, like, my being president in 2020 is not achievable. I mean, obviously, like, I put my heart and soul into that, but then like there was a period when you say, okay, this is not the most practical way to actually advance our goals. So is it a challenge for us to get folks in the Yang Gang excited about Donna, or you know, Antoine Pierce, Alex Morse, like whomever else? Like, yeah, it's a challenge, but that is, I think, where we have to try and drive them. That's where my attention is. Like, if we get several members of Congress in, like, if you look at the Justice Democrats and AOC and that gang, as far as I can tell, they've won 2 races, right? It's like AOC and Jamal. I'm not sure how many other races they've won. Like, I feel like we might actually catch up to them in this cycle if we focus and get like, you know, Donna, and let's call it like David Kim, let's call it like, you know, like 1 or 2 others into Congress. That would be epic. Like, that to me is the challenge for 2020.
All right, I'm gonna just for time, just to move things on. But no, I think all your points are spot on, and I think I wanted to follow up here with that. Is I think that also in a way was answer to sort of what of y'all's 3 and 6 months plan is focusing on getting candidates into Congress that are part of the Yang Gang, and you know, help support our momentum, put that congressional pressure and leverage. Is there anything else y'all want to add to that?
I certainly think that's our political goal right now. Like, I can tell you some other things. Like, Time Magazine asked me to do like a piece on like what the economy of the future looks like. So that's like a good opportunity to put our ideas out there in, you know, like a national setting. We're still doing economic relief, obviously. So there are like things we're working on. But politically, yeah, it's the congressional races and the state races. Like Jermaine, I hope everyone's super excited about that. Carlos Cardona could be similar. Jeremy Cooney in New York. Like we have some people that literally look to us and say like, yeah, that they're one of the main reasons I won, or they came from the Yang Gang. Like I'm so pumped that we helped change those races. And yeah, like that's where my focus is politically.
All right. So then I think that sort of naturally segue into the issues that there's definitely some, we're lost over time with COVID and getting people active in the movement, especially in the online realm, but that in this day and age, that translates to the, activation foot realm because COVID and stuff. But even still, if you're not getting those, repeated reminders of this is your community online, it's hard to, get those call to actions to go on the ground. And so there's just been this transition to, push towards to get out of campaign mode and get out, get more to sort of not for profit, but sort of what we're finding is that actually people stay engaged when we're in more of a campaign mode. I think we all agree that there's things that could be fixed and be better, about a campaign that has more voices flowing and ideas flowing back and forth. But the idea is that there's people to go rally and call an action to direct engagement really riles up people. And as you said, it's harder to get people to get riled up for smaller people that they haven't had the same media exposure to. And we can't hit people with the same number of podcasts, of these new legislators as we hit with you, right? That's why people got so active. But there's certain things that we're finding that are getting people really engaged. And so that's sort of what happened is we noticed, and Yinny first heard about the MPP action a while back, and then, her and I dove into it as like, all right, this is going to be our bread, butter to try to get some action going, get people riled up for a big vision thing where they're marching and get the game back together in a sense, right? And so, speaking of the point is, but in, Massachusetts, where we have a relatively strong digital gang, we still only had 5 people show up in person at a 60-person rally. MPP drove that. But what we also did find was that it asking people to go do this and sending them DMs, like, I DM'd like 200 people, and other people in my local Houston gang did that as well. And we started to get way more messages, more engagement on social, and people like, yeah, let me know about the next one. I can't do this one, but hit me up on the next one. And getting that activation really started to get people back involved. And, these sort of opportunities with, MPP, we see it as an opportunity to get the base back activated, but also like expand our ideas to other groups. And because MPP essentially went from, emergency UBI to now they're pretty pro UBI in general, just by working with them and building those relationships. So like we're making headway there, and they have, I think 75,000 members and like 170K a year in donations, all from small donors. They don't take any big donations. So like they're a really big, partner, and, they're excited to work. And one of the things that, I'll talk about here in a second is, how can we best show that we're partners and continue to build that relationship and, maximize our collective voice on these monthly stimulus checks that has, as I'm sure, huge popularity across Republicans and Democrats.
I love the coalition building. So yeah, congrats on that. Thank you for pinging people personally, because I agree that stuff works. And one thing I've said to Conrad, and I'll say to you all, is that to the extent that my showing up to something, for example, we're doing something on activating callers for Maryland Strickland this weekend, like anything like that, I'm happy to do because I love it so much. It's so important. So thank you for banging that out and, hitting people up that way.
Yeah, and I think what we're finding is that with, we can get them to the super sexy action of, person in Congress and protest, right? That, we have to be careful in social distance. You tweeted out, picture me, I'm super pumped. But that, then they're more likely, it's the baby steps. Do the easy, fun thing first, and then a little bit less sexy, exciting, but they know, they have to do it as the calling and stuff. So trying to build that, marketing funnel, so to speak, of, getting the game back activated. And so I'm going to just stop.
Say like this is a great lead up if we were to get any airtime, especially for the following action in September, right? When that's going to be like testify for UBI, and also the basic income march, which will be kind of concurrent, if not like a multi-tiered. I would have to say that I think that what we're talking about will probably have to be talked about probably in subsequent discussions, because I think the core of every single entity or agency, whether it's Income Movement or HFM or HF, or even Our Revolution, MPP, like all these entities are looking for what? The eyeballs and the attention and the labor, right? The volunteers. And so I think that if we can somehow build that partnership and the coalition to kind of like mutually benefit each other in a symbiotic relationship, we can basically push our initiatives even more broadly and further, right? Because I was going to mention that even in California and HFM and HF, like we need people to call, we need people to support the local campaigns. And that's actually what most of the challenges, it seems like they overlap for every agency. How can we get people to, you know, be inspired and to do things? I guess I would have to say that to make it pretty clear, California themselves, we were one of the strongest states supporting you, Andrew. And I know that even now, like we are still in the process of building and transitioning, right, into our own potential nonprofit, hopefully in the near future. And I think that's
Wow, what's it going to be called, Elaine?
we are actually still in discussion about that. I'm actually leading org structure. We're talking about the branding right now. So obviously, yeah, it's pretty exciting. And so we know that we have to take a cold, hard look at where we're at now, because I think that, of course, with pandemic and with the protests and otherwise, right? Like, how are we getting to people, mostly digitally, right? And so I think that if it's possible, we'll probably all talk in the future about how we can address this similar challenge between all fronts, right? How do we activate people and to get them kind of on board with pushing policies or local campaigns, fundraising, obviously, right, which is pretty critical. So I just wanted to say, like, it's really great to have you on the call, because I think that the more we can all work together towards in the same direction, I think that we're going to be a lot stronger.
Yeah. I just want to, well, I want to let you speak, but we just have do you have a hard stop at 3?
Yeah, we have a hard out at 4 o'clock. So if any like final thoughts or concerns or questions,
Angelo.
Yeah, so Andrew, I wanted to ask you, how much are you familiar with the Testify for UBI project?
Who's running it?
Myself and Hannah Wan.
But is that like the Tim Ryan asked people to come into Congress, or?
Yeah, we got an invitation from Tim Ryan to have a broad team of speakers that we're trying to assemble testify for Congress. So the way it actually was designed and is working is we actually are trying to get Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, and people from across the political spectrum and all walks of life to actually join on this panel to testify before Congress. So we're looking for regular, everyday Americans that are relatable, so that not only are we informing Congress and making it more politically advantageous for both parties to pass this and potentially politically disastrous for them not to, we're also trying to activate the base at home that are watching this on the news that may see themselves in one of the speakers. So it's a way of activating both the general public and putting pressure on Congress. We actually wanted to ask if you could talk to Jack Dorsey and ask him if he'd be willing to testify as a representative of the 1%.
You know, ordinarily those guys don't exactly volunteer to testify in front of Congress.
That's true.
You know, so, but there might be someone else who could, you know, who might be into it that doesn't frankly have like shareholder obligations, where for someone like Jack just to volunteer to do it, I think it's very hard because, like literally governance would be like, wait a minute, you're like going to go and like put your, cause you know, when you're there, they could ask you about anything, I think. But it's an interesting question. You know, like who we could get to fill that
high media, Elon
that
Musk around,
that 1% role that doesn't have shareholders being like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you know, like essentially putting yourself into like, you know, like a potentially compromising position that doesn't, you know, further corporate ends.
Yeah.
guys, I'm sorry to be the bad guy. Erica and I are going to follow up about these things. I know that I want to hear more about this testify for UBI stuff, but Andrew does have to get off.
Yeah, we're just gonna, one last 2-second thing is that we're gonna ask, just given the time push nature of the next 3 months with all the different events, Congress and Income March and these things leading up to build up the base again for the Income March, if we could get back to monthly meetings just for the next 3 months and to really push us so we could sort of stay on the same page, keep those strategies going together and sort of be in lockstep.
Yeah, it'll also make these be a little less of an update and more of a communication.
Sure. Yeah, sure thing. Like on my side, my ask would be that we just focus on, I mean, the things we're all discussing are great. And I love them all. But if I had my druthers, like, you know, if we get a member of Congress in, like, to me, that actually increases legislative pressure. Cause like the fact is, like, our members of Congress don't give a shit about like what the people are saying, what like 1,000 people online are saying. Like, you know, I mean, like they don't respond to anything except a threat to their job, really. And the only way to show them that we're a threat to their job is to beat somebody. So I would love your help in helping, you know, David, Donna, Nate, like, you know, to me, if we had a goal that maybe could excite folks, I'm going to suggest this: 3 Yang Gang members of Congress 2020. Like if we got 3 members of Congress, and then I think even the path to our fighting for those members of Congress actually helps serve the other goals. As you can tell, I'm dubious that our legislators listen to us anymore. I don't think they do. Like you know, you know, we like, I like to think of us as being like really like a smart, focused, you know, movement. And so if you find a point of leverage, I'm blown away by the fact that if we pile in for Donna Imam, she becomes a Democratic nominee in a district that, and she's running against a 78-year-old dude who's on death's door, who won his race last time by like 2.5 points. Like, and we did that. Like, we can do Donna, we can do like potentially David. Like if we get people excited about this stuff, there's like the big thing, which I'm obviously very, very passionate about, like, you know, and anything we can do to help, we should do it. But like, these are things that we can actually freaking become like enormous difference makers in. And so I would urge like us to urge others to be like, look, let's just help some of these freaking people win their primaries, win the race, and then we can serve like the bigger goals. Because it, you know, I mean, I agree right now is a huge opportunity, but to me, if like come November 5th or whatever it is, like if we have 3 members of Congress, like I'll be psyched. And if we have 0, I'm going to be not psyched, even if we did great work between now and then.
I think the idea is that if we can get, you know, these actions, we can, that's the difference between having 50 volunteers and 10 volunteers, right? For these Congress members, if we can get people rallied, you know, that baby stepping them, starting with the
cool. Oh yeah, yeah. Anything we can do. I appreciate the funnel a great deal. Like, you know, we can't just get them to like fall in love with Marilyn Strickland or whoever the heck it is. I agree with you. So like, I want to help them see and fall in love. But to me, like, you know, if you ask me like one thing we should be doing, it's like, just like, let's win some races. Like, you know, I mean, that would make me, because if you win some races, then people look up too. I don't know how much Jermaine's victory energized people. But like you win some races, I think people will be like, holy crap. Like David Kim, Elaine, like that would be a freaking earthquake. Like,
yeah, I'm working with him. Yeah,
sure. Me and Elaine work on his campaign actually.
Yeah, and that strikes me as winnable. Like I feel like David's got a real chance, and that would be like a huge tectonic shift where it's like, what, like a, you know, incumbent who didn't kill anyone, like just lost this guy.
And that's what the states need help with, is reactivating the people who were organizers in the past. Like I see this in Massachusetts, where they're kind of, the current leadership is tapped out with what they could do. And there's so much more that can be done if we can get, you know, those, you know, and Massachusetts knows who it is, but for a lot of the states, we only have about, you know, 12 to 16 states reactivated. And, you know, to just get those mobilized lists with Erica and Conrad of like, okay, these were the people that were organizers in those states, like Florida. Like there is not a Florida Yang Gang like stood back up yet. So, you know, there are active Floridians doing things like in COVID calling, but there isn't like a state group. And just what we've seen in Massachusetts is the recruiting for Robbie Goldstein is being driven successfully by the state level. So we just want to, you know,
that makes sense.
Yeah, to help stand up these state level groups and then just help them reconnect with the people who were organizers during the campaign time. And I think you guys have those lists of who were mobilized organizers. Because we can ask, you know, so much through emails, but that crossover to I'm willing to take ownership of something rather than just wait for directions. We need to reactivate those people.
And energize the base.
But we need organizers to provide things for the base to do. So reactivating those state leaders.
Thank you guys.
Just as a quick thing, if you could use bailoutthepeople.com when you're trying to get people to do action for contacting Congress, there's like a great like list in progress for people to go through on there that's already done for them. It takes them like 5 minutes. So
I like it. Thank you. That's a good, very concrete instruction. Well, thank you all. You are awesome. I will see you hopefully you know, in the next number of days. We're going to do incredible things together. Let's like, you know, let's eradicate poverty and win some of these races. I'm going to be pumped.
Yes, next 3 months. Let's
All right,
do it.
thanks for being here.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
bye,
you,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks.
we went over by like 8 minutes, but you
A
know.
lot. I appreciate his time and Conrad's time too.
Yeah, I also appreciate the perspective of, you know, zeroing in the focus, what he wants to do in the specific ask. So,
And the reality of Congress predominantly does not do what the majority of their constituents want them to do.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we did see that going to Congress's People's House, though, like for Sheila Jackson Lee, like having 2 people there and like chanting, leaving a note, like they got a call. Like they got a call and they're now in touch with the chief of staff. And that does at least get it, you know, we can get more allies in Congress, whether we win the seats directly or we turn them into allies by, you know, through pressure because we're close enough and, you know, why not be allies?
Okay, let's get back to the agenda. Hey, Erica, so we'll head on to the, what's it called? The reports, I guess?
Sure. Okay. I don't really have that much more to update than what I said last night during our HFM meeting. This morning we did have a meeting over candidate support, and as you heard mentioned that we are doing a major phone banking initiative with 5 of the candidates, where Andrew's going to record himself doing some phone banking. And we're going to push for that because, as you can tell, he's very about supporting the candidates and getting them elected. He sees that as a big, major strategic piece of flipping Congress to a more amenable position to what we are trying to promote. So we have got to get some more support towards our candidates so that they can get elected. Coming up is Marilyn Strickland. So that's why this Saturday is an event for her that we're planning. You'll hear more about that on Wednesday.
Could you potentially, like I tried to reach out via email to invite them to the Sunday call, but they hadn't responded yet. I'd love to have them on Sunday.
Brenda's going to take care of that for you. I already talked to her about that. Let's see, what else? So yeah, she's first with 5. I can't remember the other 4 off the top of my head, except for Donna Imam is the last one that we're going to work on because we really believe she's electable and could take out her opponent in November. And we need to raise a lot of money for her in order to win. So yeah, a lot of focus on candidate support there because we
what
need
does
to
that number look like, just so we have an idea in terms of fundraising?
$3 million is what she needs to raise $3 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Erica, quick question. Would all 5 candidates that you guys are focusing on, would they be in HFRR so we can pull those names out and then let people know who they are?
Yeah, we literally just had this meeting, not even like an hour before this one. So
Sure.
as soon as we get all of that together, I'll post it for you in our Slack and it'll also be in HFR Slack from the candidate support team.
Okay.
Chapter agreements, we probably need to take some time and just talk about that and go over the differences of the document that I started with, the edits that have been added, and where we are now. So I don't really have an update. I think we need to have a discussion. Maybe we need to schedule.
It's later in the agenda too.
Maybe we need to schedule a separate meeting specifically about chapters so that we have the time needed to do it.
I think that's a good idea.
Agreed.
And with that, I really don't have much else to report on. We're having you know, internally, we're talking more and more about strategy on coalition building and how that all coalesces around what you guys are going to be doing in the chapters, as well as what's going on with, you know, upcoming events related to congressional pressure. So yeah, that's it.
I guess a question I had, just really quickly, when we get to that separate meeting that's about the chapter agreement, is it productive to bring in the states that are organized and ready for that? So it's not just a board meeting?
Yeah, I actually was going to suggest that, so I don't have to have double conversations, because I was going to talk to them about it as well. So if we wanted to have one joint meeting with Arizona, Texas, Nevada, and California, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds.
Because one of the things that we're going to do is, let's pause for a second, just because I don't want to.
Hello, resume.
So the next thing on, okay, whoops, I'm in the wrong section. It was, I mean, that was candidate support on congressional pressure. Yeah, I want to talk a bit about sort of the emailing and asking, and sort of, we didn't have time to sort of get in the depths of sort of the positioning on he talked about the sort of stimulus checks, but initially HF was out for the going to member of Congress's houses, and then the Tim Ryan and MPP fixed that. And there was a bit of feeling, well, we did what we said, and you said you would go and send out the emails, and we got Tim Ryan, but then they didn't feel like their end of the bargain was met. Like they did their side, it wasn't returned. And it just, like, you know, the relationship is still there, and I've advocated that. I think there's just some confusion and last minute changes that they just couldn't get everything all set up. And I think, yeah, I think they got that, but I think they're going to want to, like, to move, you know, be moving forward as having, you know, support and sending out emails. And I've been messaging Nick, and he understands that, like, there may be some hesitancy with, you know, all 6 points of the thing, and they're, like, sort of left that on the table because that's what they voted for. But
here's my response to what's going on with MPP. I'm actually going to I'm building a relationship with Nick directly.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen with that. So he understands where HF is in terms of how much we can do and can't do. We have some limitations on how quickly we can turn things around. Like, you know, the whole Tim Ryan thing was pulled on a Thursday. We couldn't turn it around in time to get it out for Saturday. It just wasn't possible. But we already have some emails in the works. We already have some discussions about not just this March, but also, you know, congressional pressure through letters and calling and blah, blah, blah. So we have a lot of, we're putting more focus on it, but I'm going to work on working with Nick directly. Like last night we had a little bit of an interaction, which was really good. And I have his contact information. So I'm going to schedule like a weekly with him.
Start the recording again, move on.
Okay, sorry, I just lost my income march. Anything,
are we in the grassroots part, Massey? Where are we in the
congressional ongoing business? I was in the. I totally missed.
Erica attended the Sunday meeting. She doesn't need to hear it.
Yeah, I heard. I've got the wonderful update from last night's meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've also got the state's 3 to 6 month plans and such that happened at the meeting. It was super productive for us to hear all of that on Thursday. We really got tuned into what the states are prioritizing for themselves. And it gave them a really great chance to talk to each other and hear what each other are doing. I know that some of the states actually benefited from it directly, like within moments of the meeting happening because we did like a show and tell part where they had to come to the meeting with something that they could share that could be beneficial for another state. So they had homework.
By the way, speaking of the Sunday meeting, Erica, did you want to talk to other members so that you guys could rotate out so no one person gets burned out?
Yeah, I have to bring that up in our next team sync.
Okay. One thing I meant to bring up, and the call just ran out of time, was that got an invite from Nick for Andrew to be on the Jimmy Dore show, and ideally push congressional pressure points, and maybe the September, depending on when this happens and how quickly we can get it to happen, either soon or the September 19th march, or other candidates to go volunteer for them. So he has a pretty big audience and could be another good opportunity.
I'm pretty sure that Conrad saw that on the agenda, so it's really up to him.
Okay. Okay, all right, cool. I just want to make sure that got across. Grassroots, that's done. I was sort of just the ongoing business we pretty much talked about. One thing I wanted to do but didn't get is just I think we talked about it briefly, but point people for initiatives that we're doing, whether it's the 25th, September 19th. I get July 11th and September mixed up. Having someone who to sort of take ownership and sort of knows the background, politics, or is informed or brought in, and ideally it should really be two. Best practices is having double linking and not just one person sort of siloing things. But just so we could have clear, because it wasn't clear if, obviously stuff changed in Tom's point, but I wasn't sure like what we could go and push him to do versus what we were supposed to be doing in HFM. And having sort of one unified person, I think, would also go a long way to keeping us unified as a movement, rather than going the opposite direction where we have a bunch of different point people and we try to negotiate.
I think I've lost what you're saying, Massey.
I don't understand.
There was you and Tom were members on the Action Network, and then I and Yini were sort of point people on the July 11th action. Like actions moving forward, is if we have sort of a unified point person for the movement who knows all the moving pieces, and if we need to get email letters or tweets or whatever.
I don't think anything like that exists. I think CF is going to
that's too big,
and HFM is going to interact, and we're going to try to be in coordination with each other. But I don't think it's possible to say.
Yeah.
Well, are you suggesting that who would be like a staff person being the point, or
someone, or honestly it should be two people, but just a clear go-to person who is going to be the operations lead and some sort of decision-making structure and power.
But that's Erica and Conrad and Ethan. They split that duty.
Yeah.
I don't remember particularly where this was supposed to be going, but I think that having them.
It just trying for initiatives. Like having someone who's an expert on initiative. It's just so we don't have to email every single person and trying to figure out who do we need to ask and get stuff done.
I don't think that's an option right now. I think you're going to have to keep emailing every single person because of just the overlapping nature of it. There's just a lot of overlap.
Should I include Conrad on that email chain then?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. For the basic income march, is there anything that we want to set plans for right now?
I think we're at time, so I think we know that.
I did have one thing. Tonight's meeting with Income Movement for the Basic Income March is at 8 p.m. And they're doing candidate support ones at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. So there's a bunch of individual meetings that Income Movement is setting up to do things from their end as well, just so you know about that.
Yeah. Yes. I have something else on my calendar for this evening called COVID Congressional Action Project. So.
Is that?
I don't have that. But that's from Stacy as well. So.
It might be that they just. Yeah, I think they might be switching this meeting up. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
go back and look.
We had some points under candidate support. I don't know who wrote those, and there's support being pushed behind which candidates, what support is being given, updates from HFM candidate support with income movement.
And I think
Yeah, but Andrew already covered those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we said we had updates for candidates.
No.
Updates from HFM's candidate support team with income movement.
I think that's what you were just talking about, maybe.
I don't know. I haven't been focused on candidate support. I don't know who wrote that. Maybe it was spoken before. And the only other thing is the questions from the states. We just asked for, instead of doing it in the meeting, can we just get written answers and push those back out to the states?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. But kind of like what you did with DDP.
Yeah.
Yeah.